Hello, welcome to a quick demo about no priorities. On Product Hunt, Mr. Gordon had asked about trying to have a little demo showing how sessions were likely to work, how a group would interact with the tool. A little example, a little video. Makes sense. The tool's got a few nuances to it, but we'll run through it right here. So this is the home screen for No Priorities. You can click here or up on the top to start a brand new session. In the session, you've got a few items in here. Of course, you give it a name, what you're trying to prioritize. You give a few options, one per line, up to 15. And then you can customize 3 different areas. For example, one is the time frame. Now this is specific to the session itself. This is a little bit more definitive about what a session is, because a session is not only the context that you're talking about, but it is the time frame that is allowed for people to participate. So for example, by default, it's 24 hours. And that means that people can participate up to 24 hours later. So when this thing gets started and it gets created, you get links for either each group that you create, or if you don't have groups, just one link. And that link is good for people to participate up to that amount of time. Now, once that time period expires, it doubles. You get another 24 hours, as it is, to review the results. And I'll show you what I mean here. I tend to recommend, if people are going to try this out, actually do the 60-second one first. Like if you're not totally if you're trying to learn the tool, do 60-second sessions just by yourself. Then when you feel like, oh, I understand what's going on here, and you want to try it out with one of your coworkers or one of your friends and see what they think, and et cetera, that's when you can do like 5-minute sessions. That's good for group learning. And when you're trying to actually do it for something you're going to use it for, really, you're going to do that in a 4-hour, a 24-hour, or it's basically a 3-day session. You can still do a 5-minute session. I mean, you can be up there with a group of people, start something, give them the links, and get results pretty quick, to be quite honest. But a lot of times in day-to-day things, if you're not just right there in a meeting of sorts, giving some time frame hours wise is often how it plays out. Limit participants is just what it sounds like. There's a maximum number of people that can participate, and it defaults to 5,000 just because that is the upper limit, but that's also meaning that you're not basically limiting how many people are going to participate. But let's say you only had about 50 people that were going to participate. You just drop that down to 50. Once that count has been expunged, it won't allow any more participation. Using groups, give it a name and adjust the volume, which I'll explain this too. But what I'm going to do here is we provided a quick example button, and this pre-fills and it generates a new name and all that kind of stuff. But the options are the same, timeline, etc. is all the same. So it automatically set time frame 60 seconds, participants 250 for whatever reason, and groups. Down here, it made an example of saying, hey, you've got employees, you got partners, you got customers. This could be anything. It's just names it defaulted to. And then the volume in here, if you notice, is accordingly. So to the left is a little bit less. To the right is 100% basically. So what we're saying here is, look, we value our customers' feedback more than our partners and our employees. We value our employees more than our partners. Now, it may not be entirely clear because you're just kind of dragging these things, saying how much does that mean? Like, what does that really mean? Because you're not expressing it like a percentage. Say employees have 40% of the say of whatever is going on. The way it actually works is we're talking about priority lists. So the focus has to be around that. So a customer's number one priority and your number one priority are not equal. A customer's number two priority is now equal to your first priority. So what that means is for the employees, their priority list is knocked down one, and then it's in alignment with that other group. So if you notice, the partners are actually knocked down 1, 2, 3, seems. So the irony is here is if you start dropping it down too far, their feedback is almost moot. It's very, very minor. It is a bit of a game in that sense because you're trying to decide how much to include one group or another, but you're usually trying to express that one group has more say over another group. So what we're going to do here is we did this example. We've got it just filled out as is. It's got that 60-second thing, which is one of the reasons why the 60-second session is good for learning, is because it lets you directly participate for multiple groups. You can participate more than once is really what I want to say. Because as you start going past this, then it starts locking you down to, hey, you can only participate once, like normal. But you're not going to do a 60-second session with a whole group of people, or that would be very difficult. We'll just say that. So once this is all selected, I'm going to hit complete. Now that creates this set of information on the home page. It gives me links, which these are buttons, et cetera, et cetera. But down on the very bottom, you can see it says no priorities, participate, and then a very long jumble of stuff. And that jumble of stuff is after the pound sign, which means it's client side only. And that is all the details that you just filled in. It's the group names, it's the options, it's the subject name. And this is the link that you share to somebody for them to participate. Now, pay attention because that 60-second window is constantly counting down. So I'm going to go in here as a customer and participate. Now, what you're going to do for other individuals in a live session is you're going to go from this home page and you're going to you can either click on it and copy it from the top or right click and copy the link and then email it to them directly. Now this session has now expired. I talked through most of it, so I only participated a single time. Now, like I said, there's 60 seconds to participate, and whatever I chose, I got another one of those for how much time the results are available. Anyone who participates, this is going to be saved for them on their home page for no priorities. So they're going to be able to see the results themselves. So they participated. They got a link from you after sending it in email or shared in instant message or Teams or whatever. They click on results. Now they can see them. Here's the title, how many people participated, how many perspectives there were, which are different things. You can have 100 participants that share the exact same perspective. So that kind of tells you a little bit of alignment that happens. 100% satisfaction, of course, because I'm the only one who participated. It gives you your priority list as calculated, insight stuff, influence. Some of these aren't displaying very well because I didn't participate as much. So I'm going to go back and do it again, but a little bit different. And so this is also why the 60-second sessions are good. So while I'm on this page, it's here. But if you notice, when I click home, it's gone. And it's gone. Now, if you notice, you're not logging in. You just had those links to send to people, so they're not logging in. But click on this and do an example. Same exact setup. Now I'm going to go in here while this is happening. I'm going to just randomly pick a couple things. The only one that's actually required is the first one, because from a priority list standpoint, it's only number one that's required. If you have a number two priority, number one is still required. So it's one and two, it's one and two, one, two, and three. So this is basically what someone would see. It's very slimmed down. There's not much to it. Yes, there's only three options to pick, but you're trying to scope this down to something that people are going to give you some alignment on. If you have too many priorities that are happening, too many options that are happening, then you don't really get alignment on what's going on. I'm just going to select one here. And if I can get it in time, there we go. Yep, participation closed right on the line. Okay, so now I got back in that 60-second time window. I'm going to go back and look at the results. Okay, 4 participants, 4 perspectives, but 94% satisfaction. It's calculated the results. And to clarify this, though, how priorities are calculated is just it's two phases, but it's all the exact same process. So each priority list that comes from an individual is valued based upon the Fibonacci sequence, which is a golden ratio item. We value it based upon a higher golden ratio precision, and those start merging in. They merge in based upon each group. So what the nicety of it is, if you have, say, your employees or one group, whatever it is, let's just say IT is the one building the product, and there's 10 people in there. And then you've got another group, all the people that use whatever application. Like, you've just kind of grouped it that way. It's the people who build the stuff versus the people that that use the service. And in that case, what's happening is you can have a very small number of people that build the thing versus a very large number of people that utilize the service. And when we do grouping here, we actually summarize those down to priority list in each group first. So the cool part about that is, if you only have 10 people that build the service and you have 1,000 users of that application, if you don't adjust that volume setting we were talking about before, they're treated completely equally because they're summarized for all the people that participate inside of each of their respective groups to a priority list first. So that way it's representative of the group level, and then that is merged into this, again, with the same process. Same thing, is just, you could say it's almost in a corporate structure to a certain degree, or some other structures where feedback from a whole group of people go to the manager of sorts, and then the management staff sits around in one big meeting. So there's obviously a lot less people representing all the other people. Now, in here, we're not having that interesting scenario where the manager may alter what the feedback was, but that's just a representation. So here we got the priorities, 3 calculated. I think it only goes up and calculates maybe 10 to show. When you get into insights, this is just to show you what the heck was going on here. So you've got number of the percentage of participants, percentages of perspectives, satisfaction score. So this one's an interesting one. And if I try and silence a little bit of the other stuff. So you got the overall satisfaction and then the satisfaction itself. So the overall is here at about 94, but obviously there is 100% satisfaction and 81. So what's happening is the employees and the partners are 100% satisfied with these results for whatever reason. That's just what they picked. That's that's the way it came out. The customers are only 81% satisfied. Now you could say, why is that? It's just the selections that were chosen and the way that they merged together. Maybe employees and partners actually agreed on what should happen. Their number one priorities, remember, were equal to a customer's number two. But if both of their first priorities were the same, it can be valued together more than the customer's number one priority, which would drop the satisfaction. Now, I had hidden the volume here for a second, but this is actually interesting to note. So satisfaction and the volume that you configured. So even though you very lowly valued the partners in this sense, they're still 100% satisfied, just as happenstance. And even though you completely valued the customer's feedback, their satisfaction is still lower. It's not a guarantee because, again, you're trying to merge together multiple people in multiple groups. Now, one thing I will note here is the overall satisfaction. We calculate that against each individual person's perspective. It's what their priority list was. It's not actually about the groups. We do that to cross-cut things because once you start summarizing into a group, you lose a little bit of the individuality of this. So this lets you know at 94% what the average person, if you just had them in a room, you didn't know who they were, the average person in there is going to be 94% satisfied with these results. So you know what to do with it. Influence, just sort of an interesting factor as it comes out. As of the final results, each individual person that participated, which is really the case, this is how much influence they actually had on the final results. You see, employees are really up there, right? And they're up there because of a couple things. In this scenario, only one person participated. And they're valued 61%. The customers were actually, an individual's participation was only valued 26%. And you're like, well, why would they be valued less than employees? It's only because the individual is valued less because there were two people that participated. If there's only one person, this would have been notably higher. It would have been sort of proportional to this, where this person's 12, this person's 33. This probably would have been double this number, to be quite honest. And then all the way down here in the bottom, there's just some definitions and what certain things are. Now, these results are available both for the person who started the prioritization process and also all the people that participate. If these details are something that you need to keep, other than just like notating, okay, this is the first one, this is second, this is third, and you don't need anything else, then that's all you need. If you want the rest of this, file print it away or whatever, or screenshot it. Because again, once you leave the page, it's gone. Now you can do up to 3 of these prioritization sessions at the exact same time. And we limit that because if you're focusing on prioritizing something, you really should be focusing on that whole process. If you're just sitting there and kicking off, you're doing the processing job of like 100 different products or projects or initiatives or needs, it's really hard to focus on all those things. And I would venture to say that you're not really giving the amount of time necessary to focus on doing a good job on the ones that need done. So 3 are fine. And again, when you're doing one of these things, it's over in 72 hours max. Well, and then the results get deleted. So then it's a little bit further than that. So I hope this was helpful. And if you have any more questions, just let me know.